We have been getting huge news about Poppy Playtime recently, and we kind of have to talk about it, what it might mean, and what it can tell us about the upcoming Chapter 5 in less than a month. Possibly the final chapter of the franchise. Slices, put on your aprons and let's bake ourselves a theory. So what have we gotten so far about Chapter 5? Going from oldest to newest, we start with the teaser we received, which mainly just shows us shots of the laboratory we'll be exploring with some weird orangey purple goo. I don't know what this goo is, but it does confuse and frighten me. After that, we got the Welcome Home trailer, which shows Poppy getting chased and eventually caught after ditching us to die because she hates us, but she herself gets captured by this roomy looking doll. She seems cool, her name is Lily, we'll talk about her later. But most recently, we got a trailer titled The Prototype, where we get, well, a lot of shots of the prototype, doing some weird experiment on these creatures we see in several other trailers, ending with this shot. But that's just the trailers. We also got some promotional images recently that are very important. In December, we got this art, which featured a painting of a redrawing of the full tarot card, but with colors more fitting Playtime Co. with the Playtime Factory in the background. Then on New Year's, we got this image of the prototype handing a poppy flower to Poppy. This is all incredibly interesting, and there's hidden details in all of this, but as we go over that, what does any of this mean? So first up, we have Lily, the name for this braided character, according to the merch that we've gotten so far. We really don't have any information on this character and who she might be, but it's interesting that we now have two girls that are dolls that are named after flowers, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice. Frankly, I wonder if this ties into Poppy's lore at all. After all, the prototype keeps telling her to come home. And in the place that he's calling home, there's somebody else that's this similar to Poppy. I wonder if they might be sisters in a sense, not literally, but in some way. Now that's interesting and all, but let's talk about the guy that everybody is so excited to see. This weird creature. Okay, I promise we'll talk about the prototype, but we gotta talk about this thing too. This creature is wild and has shown up in like every trailer. I think we have our small mob-like creature to chase us through the hallways. It looks like an inside-out plushie with weird bloody veins all over it. It looks gross, frankly. It almost has a skin-like texture, which I think might be on purpose. Almost as if the prototype is trying to make something look more human-like using the tools in front of it, plushed animals. But still, we don't know much about this thing other than that's probably the smiling critters for this chapter. Okay, that out of the way. Now we can finally talk about him. Huggy Wuggy seems to have survived the fall, and in this script— alright, sorry, I thought it was funny. The prototype was teased a lot in these images and trailers. So much so that we kind of have a decent idea of what the full prototype might actually look like. Not only do we get this general body structure, but we have hints to the head itself. Looking again at that full card, note these puffy sleeves and the fact that it's holding a poppy flower. What was the next promotional image we got but this image of the prototype holding a poppy flower? If you brighten it, you can see those same puffy sleeves. Some more confirmations of this connection is that in the scalpel that the prototype is holding, we get this brief reflection. Some people thought it to be a face, but upon closer inspection, it looks like part of the three-pointed hat that the Fool is wearing in that tarot card. And honestly, comparing these images to the shrine that we get in Chapter 3, I think you can get a pretty accurate idea of what we'll be looking at in the prototype come the next chapter. And I honestly wonder if this skeleton is figurative or if the main headpiece of the prototype is a body. There's only one way to find out, and that's wait for it, but there is something to note. This prototype is massive. Like, massive, especially if we consider the shrine as scale. So one of the questions that I and a lot of other people have been having is, how does this thing get around the factory? There are tight corridors and ventilation shafts all over the place. Is it just tearing through those things? Or can it morph its body? After all, we know it can add things to itself, so the idea that it can change the shape of its body a little bit to fit into things isn't that far off. But still, all of this has been what characters we're going to see in the upcoming chapter. Do we have any idea what the chapter itself is actually going to be about? Frankly, yeah, a good bit actually.
Well, was that true?
I'm glad you asked, because yes, it is true. Gamersupps now offers Gamerade, their creatine and hydration formula. You can get it right now at gamersupps.gg/rytoast or use code RYTOAST for 10% off your entire order. Both flavors, lemon, lime, and blue, are quite good. Thank you again for asking. We've seen the prototype telling Poppy to come home in every trailer and every teaser, even the ending of the last chapter. Wherever the lab is, the prototype considers it home for him and Poppy, two characters that he says are different from everyone else. Poppy herself mentions that she can't go back to the case before ditching us to die. We also know from the tapes that the prototype was specifically keeping Dr. Harley Sawyer alive in order to continue some experiment that was happening when the facility was still functioning. After all, the doctor says a whole team couldn't figure this out, he needs more time, implying that it's something that the team was trying to figure out. So what does all of this lead us to? I believe the prototype is tirelessly looking at ways to undo what has been done to them, trying to take these toys and turn them back into humans. And while it tries to figure that out, it wants to keep everything in stasis. The kids that are in the laboratory, the toys that are nearby. Frankly, I think that's what Poppy's talking about. That's why she was in a glass case when we got there in the first place. That's the very same case she mentions she can't go back to. And that's where we come in. Many people have been trying to figure out that if the prototype wants us dead so badly, why hasn't it killed us yet? Twice now, we have encountered the prototype, and it not only let us live, but collected the body of the thing we just killed, to the point where in the third chapter, we are frankly helpless. When we encounter the prototype, we're on our back, we're unarmed, yet it finishes the job on Catnap and collects its body, leaving us be. He's basically actively letting us live and leading us further down the facility. Why is that? I think it's on purpose. If the prototype is trying to turn toys back into humans, one of the possible outcomes could be needing a human body. Maybe you can't undo the experiment that turned them into a toy, but maybe you can transfer that toy back into a fresh human body. That might be why the prototype is leading us down into the belly of the beast. After all, even though Doughy says the children are still down there and Poppy says the children are still down there, do we honestly think that's true? I think the reason the prototype reaches out to us in the first place is because it needs a fresh body, because it has ran out. Think about narratively and logically how this game goes. If there is a laboratory full of savable children, how the hell are we going to do that? This entire time, we've been going deeper and deeper into this facility, destroying everything in our wake on the way down. We are miles below the surface with nothing but rubble above us. How are we going to take a laboratory full of alive children back up? I'm almost certain the way this franchise ends is that when we get down there, we find that there's nobody left. The prototype wants our body to finish the experiment. And not only will we defeat it, but we agree with Poppy at the end that the only rational and moral thing to do at this point is to destroy the rest of this facility with everyone inside, letting everyone rest, and finally atoning for the sins that we committed being somebody who worked at this facility. We're basically pulling a FNAF 6, at least I think so. Now, it is possible that I'm wrong. After all, it's shown a couple times that the prototype is amenable to the children. It seems to protect them from Miss Delightful. There's the story where the prototype gives up its own freedom to save the boy who helped it escape. But desperate times call for desperate measures, and the prototype seems pretty damn desperate to me. And that's my thoughts for Poppy Playtime Chapter 5. Everything we've gotten for this chapter looks so goddamn good, and we're getting it in like a month. You know I'll be playing it live when it comes out, so make sure you're subscribed and have your notifications on so you see it. You know, it also makes my dopamine go up when the number goes up. Anyway, if you don't care that much about Poppy Playtime, thanks for sticking around. But as a reward, here's a FNAF theory instead. If you want your fan art featured on the channel, make sure to share it with #ToastArt. A huge thank you to the best channel member, the Dough Risers. And until next time, as always, stay toasty, slices.